again with another BBNaija Lockdown highlights video. I know you missed this video. I know I was here yesterday, but I'm back with more gist because Biggie has decided to bombard us with highlights. So why not give you the information? My name is Judith, and this is brought to you by Every NG, where we give you everything you need to know and everything that's happening around you in Nigeria, outside Nigeria, just everything you need to know. Now let's get into the highlights. And you know, when we were showing the highlights yesterday, was like day 36 and day 37. I'm like, Biggie, we jumped though. But then again, Biggie is like, anyhow I give you, you take it. If I give you like this, you take it. So who are we to complain? First up on day 36 was Watoni and Tolani Badge. Now they were discussing Dorathy. Do you know one thing that's so funny about these housemates was, while they were in the house, everybody was so chummy, everybody was smiling with them, like they were all smiling with themselves. But low-key, if you listen to their conversations very well, you will hear that there's a little bit of gossip going here and there. So yes, Watoni and Tolani Badge are talking about Dorathy. Now, if you don't know why, let me give you a little backstory. There's a triangle, as usual. The housemates they were obsessed with making different love shapes. So there was a triangle with Watoni and Brighto, and Dorathy was the third part of the triangle. And you know, for a while, it seemed like there was a little bit of confusion, but finally, Watoni was able to clinch Brighto, and Dorathy was kind of to the corner. She was like a third wheel. But anyway, she was telling Tolani Badge how she feels Dorathy was trying too hard to be with Brighto. And Tolani was just like, look, you're not friends with her. You don't have to be nice to her or anything. If you feel like both of you are in competition, then just, if you see her, say hi when you need to, but you don't have to be chummy and friends with her for any reason. See Brighto, Lord Baelish, I didn't want causing this trouble. But anyway, after that, V, Kid, Watoni, Neo, they were discussing their wins. And you know, for the longest time, Neo thought that he was like the lowest winning housemate. He's like, why is it that it's only 100k? My mates are moving on to 500, almost 1 million. I'm still in 189k. What's going on? Baba God, did I not wash my head well in the river? But anyway, he was complaining. And funny how V was the highest winning housemate, his babe. She was already, when he was complaining about this 100 and something k, she was already at like 600 and going to 700. And he's like, what am I doing wrong? And Kid was like, V will not cost for him smooth. He's like, I better go. After this bed that we're sharing, nothing else. But anyway, they were talking about their winnings, just basically having a conversation before, you know, most of the day's activities starts off and kick off fully. Now, when they were talking, V is like, look, it's not even about how hard you work, because they were saying that Neo is a very hardworking person. Like, he puts his all into the task. He's putting 150% into the task. But for some reason, he wasn't winning as much as other people. And I feel like it's true that there was even this time that Nengi was in a group, and I remember very well, Nengi was in that group because they showed the flashback. Nengi was in that group with Prince, and you know, they were just doing their thing, but Nengi wasn't doing much. She was just there like, okay, when you guys are done. And for some very funny reason, I mean, obviously the effort of her other team members, they won that task. And everyone was like, when she was saying it, she was like, Nengi did not do anything. She didn't do nada. She was just there standing. Nothing was happening, but she won money. And this was pinching Neo, because there was also the part where they showed that Neo was singing for one of his tasks, and his voice was so loud. His energy was... But I thought it was like, if it's by energy, Neo, you've won this game. You have won this game. But anyway, so that was it with the housemates discussing their wins. Now move forward to, you know, the laundry area. Neo was there. Kidwire, who is the head of house, was there, and his deputy Erica, as expected. I mean, who else? So they were just talking, and Tolani Badge was there as well. And then next thing, Neo started begging to be deputy, because Erica was like, oh, if I become head of house, I'm definitely picking Brighto. And he's like, hello, am I not your friend? Why are you not picking me? And then he started begging for the spot, like, please pick me. And then, you know, this thing that people do, that they just want to let you know that, oh, I'm aware that you're involved with this lady. Erica was like, I beg you, I don't want trouble. Before V will beat me, who will beat you in the house? You said, who will beat you in the house? So when he was saying that, he was like, I don't know V. V doesn't know me. Please, pick me, or next time you need deputy, pick me. I'm like, So these are love. Love in Toronto has gone because of deputy head of house. But yeah, Neo did that. Really, really hilarious. So yeah, one thing was, this week was the week that the housemates had their hero task. If you remember this task very well, it was a very emotional one. This was where we saw people who had never cried crying. And this was the first time we also heard about a lot of people's family stories, because they were given this task to talk about their heroes, you know, to paint a picture and kind of depict what their hero is to them in a painting. And while a lot of people struggled with interpreting what they really felt, it was easy breezy for some other people, but we'll talk about that one later. Let's talk about the fact that Praise and Kaisha were not in the house. They were not in the house because they had been evicted. So during the diary session, Biggie called people in to kind of share what they felt about the nominations. Bottom four, as usual, tricky tick. There, number one. Patoni was there, V was there as well. And Neo was also there. No, Neo wasn't there. V was there. Praise was there. And, people were like, so who is going home? And then during the eviction, Praise left, obviously. Like, Praise, bye-bye. Most people nominated Praise. And Watoni was even feeling like, she was going to go home because of, that triangle I mentioned at the beginning of the show. She felt like, people were friends with Dorathy, and because of the situation she had with Brighto and Dorathy, they would want her to go home. And it was just in her head. It was just in her head. Like, it was nothing serious. Dorathy did not even pick her to go home. Like, Dorathy did not nominate for her to go home. I'm just like, Watoni, why are you overthinking this thing? Why are you overthinking it? But anyway, they spoke about the nominations. Watoni came in first. Let me tell you what I'm saying for this one. Because when she came, Biggie asked her about the nomination. She spoke about it, and then Biggie said, housemates are forming love relationships, and she started smiling. Why are you smiling? Started smiling, and Biggie asked her who she felt had fallen in love with the house. Of course, she mentioned Neo and V. And then when she was talking about Tolani Badge and Prince, she was like, she's not sure, like, because this minute Prince is involved. He really wants, like, he looks like he wants to be with T-Badge, and the next minute he's just like, I don't care, whatever happens, happens. It's just like hot and cold with them. You never really know if they really like each other, or it's just a tactic, or just something to persuade the viewers to vote for them, or something like that. Then when Biggie now asked her about her own relationship, she's like, well, about myself, I don't really know. I don't think I'm in love, but Brighton makes me really happy. Yep. Oh, really? Wahoo. So yeah, she said that, but you could tell that she was head over heels. Like, she liked Brighton. She was smiling, grinning from ear to ear. I said, Watoni, boot up. So yeah, that was what Watoni said. Tricky to came to spoil everything. Tricky came in after Watoni, and of course Biggie asked him the same question, and he's like, look, I don't think anybody's in love here. Why so harsh? Why so harsh? It's like everybody, like, they just met themselves, that he doesn't see them being in love, because most of them are sheltered. All of them are sheltered. They have food, they have water, they don't have to worry about work, they don't have to worry about any other external factor. They're just here for the game. So it might seem like everything is rosy for most couples now, but outside the house, he doesn't see most of them weathering the storm. Well, laughs in Neo and V, but what do I know? So yeah, Tricky said that. Other people came in and they said what they had to say, mostly about nominations, and then we moved on to the head of house challenge. You know, when Erica was saying, if I win head of house, I'll pick Brighto, I'll pick Neo. You will. She didn't even go to top 3. So yeah, Ozor won the head of house again. This was the second time being head of house, and as we all expected, he picked Nengi as his deputy. So the other thing Ozor did, he went to even talk to Dora before picking Nengi, just to make sure that she wasn't angry. And then when Biggie asked him to select, he was like, I picked Nengi first choice, Dorathy and Tolani Badge, and then eventually, obviously, Nengi will say yes, because why would she say no to the position? And she became the deputy head of house. And they decided to pick Neo and V as their visitors, because Biggie added an extra rule of having visitors who cannot sleep over, but they can just come in, chill, and go back to the main house. So yeah, Neo and V were the visitors. And then there was an interesting conversation between V and Nengi. So yeah, they were talking about like love, their guys, relationship, fame. I'm just like, please, these people should not kill me. What's this conversation about? Have fun, eat, drink, and be merry. But anyway, they said have a serious conversation. What do I know? So yeah, they were talking, and V was just really bothered about what it was going to be like being with Neo outside the house, because it's like, okay, what about all this fame? They were in the head of house lounge, like I said, and V was talking. She's like, look, I might look like I'm in love with him now, but I really don't know, because outside the house, we don't know what is outside there for us, and definitely we are going to encounter something that none of us have encountered before, and that's fame. Nobody knows how they react to fame. You might think that, I'll still be humble, I'll still be this, I'll still be that, until it really happens and you're just misbehaving. So she was just expressing those fears to Nengi, and Nengi's like, look, chill, I think this guy likes you. I saw the way he was shaking when you were off on nomination. I said, is it by shaking? What if he was hungry? Oh well. But anyway, so like I saw the way he was shaking. He really likes you. I think he loves you. I was like, oh, okay, oh, sorry, oh, love Dr. Nengi. So after that conversation, we moved on to the housemates going to bed. Everybody went into the bed, and then the cameraman decided, let me show you all what's happening in the head of house lounge. Now, Ozo and Nengi, we know the dynamics of their relationship. Ozo wants Nengi. Nengi looks like she wants Ozo, but she's exercising the topmost level of self-control. So while they were in the head of house lounge, they were supposed to share the bed. Next thing I know, I saw pillows. I said, what's going on here? Nengi was actually building a wall of Jericho between her and Ozo. Ozo was, my Ozo is like, what's wrong with this babe? Like, calm down, there's no need for all these theatrics. But she get in her mind, she's like, please don't cross this boundary and don't talk to me, because I know you start talking about things I don't want to hear about. I want to sleep. And that was how we ended day 36 in the BBNaija house. But of course, they just really showed us what the housemates were all about that day. And it was one thing I would like to say, it was really interesting that most of the conversations that we're hearing now, most of them, we didn't hear them in the house, because they had to shift cameras from this person to that person, from this person to that person, so they weren't really showing everybody's conversation at the same time, which is maybe the point of the highlights, just to show you other parts of what people were talking about. But yeah, that is the end of day 36 in the BBNaija Lockdown house. Let's move on to day 37. Day 37 was mostly a task, but something happened at the beginning of the day, and it was Prince talking to Lucy. Now remember that Prince and Lucy, they are close. I don't know how that relationship even evolved, but they were close at a point. If you remember that their fight, they had a fight at one point, but let's not talk about that today. So Prince was talking to Lucy about his relationship with Tolani Badge. So at first glance, I was like, okay, maybe he was trying to get advice from Lucy, but that wasn't even the case. It was more of Lucy and Tolani Badge were not friendly, they were not even cordial, and it's because of some imaginary situation between the both of them. I mean, Lucy would fall out with you, and then she would come back and say, look, I know that we had this situation, let's sort ourselves out. That was Lucy throughout the house. If you watched very well, you know that was Lucy. So when Prince was talking, he's like, look, Tolani Badge wants to talk to you. She told me that she was going to talk to you. So apparently they were having some cold beef. Like, when you see somebody and say hi, but deep down you're just like, don't care about this person. Something like that. And this is like, look, I don't have a problem with your baby. I really don't have a problem with her. I think she's cool. We might not be the best of friends, but I can live with her. And then the person who edited these highlights, very, very strategic, because at the point where she was saying that, we brought back a flashback of where Ebuka was talking about something Tolani Badge did. And it was during one of their tasks, I think for the beauty company, the cosmetic company, and they were supposed to be divided into teams, I think team black and team white. And Lucy was in team white, and then Tolani Badge eventually had an issue with Kidwire because she was struggling to get team black shirt. She didn't want to be in the group with Lucy. So when Ebuka asked, see, that Ebuka, he likes violence. He's a man of war. He doesn't like peace. Because he brought this up and he's like, look, you said you didn't want to be in the same group with Lucy. Tolani Badge was trying to maneuver her way. She was like, well, I didn't exactly say. Ebuka was like, nope. You said expressly that you did not. You implied it by dragging for the black shirt. And she's like, well, I just wanted black. I just didn't want to be in white. Ebuka did not let her rest too. He now quoted something that Tolani Badge said. And Tolani Badge just gave her. She's like, yes, I said it. I didn't want to be in a group with Lucy. And he's like, why? And he's like, oh, well, she's like, because she's not easy to work with. And I think a couple of people will agree with me. Now, mind you, Erica was seated just beside Tolani Badge. And at the point where she said, I think a couple of other housemates will agree with me, Erica was nodding. I'm like, Ushe, bestie goals, supporting your best friend. Plus, she had an issue with Lucy previously. So, not surprising. So, yeah, after that, they moved on to doing other things. Now, these housemates, when you've lost so much, like you've lost wages so much that noodles is a normal thing. I wake up in the morning, I'll eat noodles. Afternoon, same thing. Evening, same thing. And Biggie was like, these people are not suffering enough. Let me take away hot water. So this was a week where they did not have hot water to have their bath. And the house is freezing cold because all of them were saying this house is too cold. Okay, Biggie, please reduce the air conditioner. So they didn't have hot water around that period, and it was just extra cold. Like they actually felt this punishment. But anyway, Biggie decided to give them something to warm up, and it was a task from the noodles company that was sponsoring. And this task, they were supposed to dress in their traditional attires, cook traditional meals, exchange recipes, and just try to make different recipes with the noodles, the instant noodles. So that was what the task was all about. But first, they had to get their ingredients, get their recipes together, and just make sure that everything was in order for the cooking part of the game. Now the housemates got their ingredients. They did that thing. There was this really fun game that they all had to enter a pool of balls to find ingredients for their cooking. That was the day that they did that game. Really interesting. I don't know why I enjoyed it, Agbaya like me, but I enjoyed it, sha. So after that, they went on to cooking. They finished up with the task. Each housemate had something to go home with, although it was very dependent on how you scored your partner, but everybody still walked home with something. Now after the task, they decided to do one improv drama thing, and it was so interesting because it was improv. Like, they just thought about it and like, oh, let's act a drama about you wanting to marry into my family and vice versa. And then obviously the wives were at war, and V was Laycon's wife and Dorothy was Prince's wife, and then next thing I know, they were fighting. They were just having fun, just chilling, because they're still in their traditional outfits, so they were just chilling and having fun. So after that, Laycon decided to talk to V. They went to change into their sleeping clothes and all whatnot. And you remember that they have a task about their heroes, painting and stuff. Now Laycon didn't really know what to do, and this was like the first time we're hearing about Laycon's dad in detail. Like, this was where he told V that, look, I want to paint my dad, because every time someone says who is your hero, my mom is the first that comes to my mind, but I don't want to put her in the limelight. I don't want her to be involved with this my kind of life. I want her to just chill and enjoy. So he's like, I want to do something for my dad, and he's late. So when he was talking about his dad, this really touched a lot of people, because Laycon said he was so pissed at his dad for being such a selfless person. Yes, his dad was in the police at some point, and according to Laycon, he was so selfless to the point that the family would be in need, but he would still give out to people who came to him for help. Like, imagine your family, maybe you haven't finished paying your children's school fees, and someone says, look, my daughter needs this for medical bills, and you're giving out the money you have to that person. That was what Laycon painted his dad to be. And V was listening and gave him advice, said, look, you can do a hand from the sky and your hand reaching out, and yada yada yada. I'm like, V, you're a good friend though, so you're a good person like this. So yeah, after she gave the advice, they went back to another task. I'm like, people, allow these people rest, because at that time of the night, they brought a task, something that it has to do with pulling thread along nails and making artwork from it. I mean, it was part of the wager, but they brought it that night, and Ozo was very serious about not losing the wager, because that day, when he even won the head of house, he did one long speech, as usual. We all know Ozo did this long speech about everybody behaving themselves. We have to come out as our best, and you see some people like, so please help us. So yeah, they said their task that night, but they tried to make fun out of the situation. They were singing, they were dancing. Dorothy was in another world, because while everybody was sitting, she was just standing and singing with her imaginary mic. I'm like, sister, is it more than what we are saying? Is there a brighter situation underlying these emotions? Why? So yeah, she finished singing. Everybody had fun. Now they went back to chill. Watoni and Brighto. So they were the only ones in the room. They were just discussing about the day's task. Now remember I told you that everybody got money, everybody got something from the task, but it wasn't equal based on how you scored your partner. So Watoni first started complaining about how Tricky T scored her a 6, and she even tried, I think she gave him an 8 or something. Little did he know that they were going to flip the prices, because it was like, okay, if you give your partner an 8 and your partner gives you, say, a 10, when you guys are splitting the money, the person who scored higher would get, like, the person who scored their teammates higher would get a higher amount of money. Do you get that kind of reverse thing? It was even, people were shocked, like, how? So because Tricky, I said Tricky, I beg your pardon, Watoni scored Kidwire higher in their task, she got more money than Kidwire, because Kidwire scored her a lower mark. So when she was not talking about it, she was like, that they were even doing their task. And then you see pictures of them in their traditional attire. You see Watoni and Kidwire. And then next thing, Brighto was like, well, me, I don't regret giving V the score I gave her. Brighto is not serious. He was like, I gave V 6. Brighto was like, why did you give her 6? Like, did you taste our noodles? I'm like, let V catch you. Let V catch you. Now you know she's outside here, she can really tear you. He really complained about V's noodles. But then, I don't remember that when Vicky was asking why he scored V, what he scored her, he's like, oh, she tried, she, incorporated the ingredients I gave her. I'm like, so you were lying. You were lying. Look at your life in the public. You still got lower money than V. So he was saying that this does not try you. He don't really try like that. So he had to give her a 6, and that was why he scored her lower than she scored him. But all in all, everybody got money. Everybody was happy. Now let's talk about the conversation between Dorathy and Laycon. These are two people that were in a triangle, but it did not work out so well for them. Now they said, why not form a different club? A club of people who were kicked out of the triangle. So, they still spending lots of time together. Even this time that Dorathy and Laycon were sharing bed. And it was cool. They were bonding. So at this particular night, they're discussing about their love lives in the house. And Dorathy started, she's like, look, she can't be like Watoni. She really can't be like Watoni. Watoni is a clingy person. Like, she didn't use the word clingy per se, but she's like, Watoni is very persistent. She's always around him. She wants to keep up with him. She's always trying to rev him up, because Brighto seems to be a bit calm. He's just relaxed. Just nothing is stressing me. So she said she can't be like that. She implied that Watoni was clingy, but she's like, me, I cannot be that kind of person. I can't force anything. Watoni did try, I'm just going to leave myself out, to remove myself from the situation. And I was just like, sis, I think they kicked you out before you realized that, but we move. So yeah, she said that, and then Laycon decided to pour out his own heartfelt emotions as well. We are not, strangers to Laycon's situation in the house, how he liked Erica, but Erica was in love with Kidwire somewhat. So he was like, look, from the look of things, Erica doesn't even want to talk to me anymore. It was, they had this awkward period where they were not talking, but they weren't beefing. They were just trying their best to avoid themselves in the house. That kind of situation. That was what they were going through. And then Dorathy was just like, look, don't stress yourself over it. You're here, you're focused on the game. Be like me, leave this triangle alone and focus on the game. It was so hilarious. This thing that they say, in the land of blind people, the one-eyed man is king. That was what Dorathy was doing. But anyway, that was where Day 37 ended in the BBNaija house. So yeah, that was it for yesterday's highlights. It was so much fun to watch. It just brought back memories, because I remember very well that when I was watching this season, I was just like, Dorathy, stop it. This situation is not for you. Let it go. So yeah, they just brought back those memories. Thank you so much. I hope you had fun getting these highlights as much as I did giving them to you. Thank you so much for joining me in this video. And until next time, this is brought to you by Every NG, and my name remains Judith. Bye.